This meeting is now started at 6:05. Thank you everyone for coming to the first Parks and Rec Town Hall. Roll call.
Treasurer Machine?
Here.
Tristan Sanders? You're a little bit late. Todd Easy?
Here.
Jeremiah Jackson?
Here.
Laura Ball?
Here.
Wendy Ball? Here. Amy Rajan?
Here.
All right, everyone. And then it's going to be Chris. You want to say a little something too? Perfect.
Yeah, I want to go ahead and open up the public comment, kind of provide a little background here. The RID is primarily utility provider and the fire department emergency rescue responder provider. However, we're Parks and Rec also. So I just want to let everyone know under RID law of the Public Resources Code, it says that the district may acquire, construct, maintain, and operate property, works, works and facilities for any one or more of the following purposes. And there are 12 items listed in that section of the Public Resources Code, some of them critical, such as water and sewer service, but others not important for us, such as mosquito abatement. But one of the items listed states public recreation by means of parks, including but not limited to aquatic parks and recreational harbors, playgrounds, golf courses, swimming pools, or recreation buildings for all year recreation, including but not limited to facilities for public and private meetings and other public squares and places. Thus, Parks and Recreation is part of the foundation of the RID. Of course, we are limited, though, on our budget for Parks and Recreation. We all know most of our rates and taxes are primarily meant for the utilities and the fire department. We're also limited on staff. We only have one dedicated staff member for the Parks and Recreation Department. So I just want to let that be known. But we are also aware of the community's desire for Parks and Recreation, thus the formation of this committee, the creation of this strategic plan and survey, and this very meeting. So we're trying to respond to the community's needs and desires. And this is to help the RID guide the RID towards what this community really wants, to help focus our limited resources in that direction. Along with that, though, we have to realize that it's not just the RID. Essential contribution from local organizations is also necessary, and community members. That really helps make things happen, such as SCARF, the Pioneers, SCAPOA, the Shelter Cove Golf Group, the Pickleball Group, various community advocates. They've all helped with make things happen in this district. There's much interest for the future for great possibilities that might occur, like the bicycle pump track. We had a great presentation on that. I hear a lot of community interest in skateboard parks, dog parks, frisbee golf. The Eel River Wailaki also provided a great presentation for their cultural hub at Coral Point. Some may think these are unattainable dreams for whatever reason, but this community has shown that we can make it happen. For instance, who would have thought that we'd have such a great labyrinth, a playground, a fitness trail, hiking trail, many arts and crafts opportunities, and whatever else becomes the next great contribution. The possibilities are as limitless as our ideas. Thank you. Public comment.
All right, it's public comment now. Is there anything anyone would like to say before we get started?
And this has to do with anything not on the agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And I also wanted to clarify, we'll be going down, we'll be looking at the current draft strategic plan, and there's 4 main goals that's listed. So we'll be making our way through those goals, and public comment will be taken in regards to that discussion, those discussion items. And then as we get through the strategic plan, what we have so far, then we'll be opening it up to the public for giving recommendations of what you would like, anything that's not on here that we could take a look at and add to, possibly add to the strategic plan. And so that would be the time more towards the end of where we'll be taking in information on, what else you guys would like to see that we haven't thought of or haven't included yet. Okay, so yes, public comment for anything that's not on the agenda.
Of course, I wanted to mention, he's been doing gravel, there's copies of strategic plans on back. What's not on the plan?
Yeah, right, on the agenda. It's just public comment just for whatever's not. It's like a regular meeting where we ask that. Going on?
So,
Oh.
hi, everybody. I'm Paige Finley.
Yep.
Oh.
You step up to the podium.
First timer.
And you have three, and also just one more. We have 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Paige Finley, and I'm new to SCARF. I'm a new board member. And recently, Riley has came to me with a whole contract idea, and I have brought this idea up to SCARF, and they SCARF seems to overwhelmingly support the idea and embrace it. Obviously, it's a large project, and we know that moving forward, the only way it would be possible is if we were able to do such a project on RID property. And so, with that in mind, last time Riley was here to present her project, you had mentioned having questions about insurance. So regarding that, if it were to, in the future, be on RID property, I reached out to the administrative superintendent, Jessica DeCulver, and she reached out to RID's insurance risk assessment person, and they did say that RID would be liable to carry the insurance if it was on RID property. But however, in order to find out how much that insurance would cost, we would need to have a plan so that they can look at the plans and understand the risk assessment. So I did do a little research, and I reached out to Crescent City, and they recently got a contract built within the last couple of years. They have had a really good turnout without any insurance claims within those last 2 years. And so it's been successful, and I just wanted to give that information to you so that you know. And the company that built their contract is called American Ramp Company, and I did reach out to them. And so, we'll be, SCARF will be working together to come out with a project proposal for RID, and hopefully we can move forward from there. But I just wanted to give that information to you since that was a question that was left off with that public chat presentation last time. Thank you.
Thank you. And at the end of the meeting too, we can discuss that too.
Pay the contract or the free to the public, as far as I know. Have you ever been to any?
I have been to one skate park in Arizona that what you had to pay, but I've been all up and down the coast. I did 4 months of traveling pump tracks, and they're normally just run by the community, and they've always been. Yeah, and they usually have signage. Another thing that I looked into with the insurance was that having proper signage will bring down those insurance. There are certain things that you need to do to bring down the cost of the insurance. And so one of them was having proper signage, and then having it done by like a professional contracted, with licensed and insured, or like a professional.
Perfect. And if we could just, with the public comments, we're going to try to keep people going up to the podium so people can see online and hear it online as well. And then at the end of after we get through the strategic plan, we'll probably have you guys speak to more to that as well. Yep.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Just so you guys are aware, we're going to try to do this once a quarter. And then other than that, it'll be the 4th Thursday of every month at 10 a.m., just so everyone's aware of when these meetings do occur. So what we're going to do is we're going to get started. So how this is going to work is we're going to go for about an hour and go through all of the objectives that are here. We're going to go down the line of the board, get their opinion, and then it will be open to public comment. And then you guys can have a chance to speak your voice. So let's get started. So the first one here, the first goal is to enhance the golf course. And that first objective is to improve the playing experience. And then there are action items next to that you guys can kind of read as we go along. Let's start. Wendy, you want to go first?
I'd like to say on the first,
Just one moment, please. I'm sorry. We made a little, we jumped ahead. We need to approve the minutes.
Oh, you're right. We're doing that at the beginning this
Sorry.
Sorry, guys. You
We're
should do that at the
switching
end.
up.
All right. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is approve the minutes from last month. Roll call. Oh, yeah. Motion. Any motion?
I make a motion to approve the March 27th Parks and Rec.
I second that. And then roll
It
call.
has to be.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
I second it.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Sheen,
Aye.
Kristen Sanders, Todd Aiken,
Aye.
Jeremiah Jackson,
I'm gonna abstain if I wasn't there.
Laura Ball,
I wasn't there, but I did watch the meeting. So yes, I approve.
Lady Ball,
Yes.
and Steve Rogers.
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, so enhancing the golf course. So the objective, improve the playing experience. I'm going to start with Wendy since it's kind of her forte.
My opinion is if you have an awesome golf course on the front row of the Pacific Ocean, you should maintain it and make it awesome because people will use it. It's a great way for the RID to earn some money. What I wanted to say that under that action item that says upgrade the tee boxes, I'd like to say that it's not really an upgrade, it's a maintenance issue. We're not looking to upgrade anything. We're looking at it to bring it to a standard that makes it playable.
Mhm.
So I don't want people to think we're upgrading, we're just getting to where we need to be. I think it's important to get some sort of consistent scheduling for the golf course. A lawn, I don't know what the lawn mowing scheduling is. I know that the golf club is working on a bi-weekly rotation of the holes, but if we could also have a consistent lawn and hopefully before the weekends, that would also make the RID more money. I know that people are passing on golf and playing pickleball when you can't find your ball in the fairway. It's definitely directly related to income to the RID. Other than that, we're looking at expanding our groups, and there's so many people that want to play golf. And so if we can get this golf course to an awesome, and it's just so close to being there, golfing experience, then we can do the fun things like a little extra landscaping and, some frills, maybe a logo that we can sell, stamped golf balls and hats and stuff. But I think number one is, getting a consistent playing surface. And I think because the RID isn't, high on that area or very well educated, maybe get a consultant to help. And I think Todd and I are in agreement that maybe just someone in charge of Parks and Rec from the RID would be a great top-down solution. I'll do that, Todd.
Wonderful. Simi?
Oh, about that, okay.
Yeah, we're just going down the line.
Oh,
I would say pass.
Now it's time.
So I've got a lot of concerns about the golf course, and me and Chris have worked on them several times to try to get it. And Wendy said consistency. It's interesting. Many things have been passed by, and I have great concerns when these things are. We haven't sanded the greens in like 3 years when it's supposed to be done twice a year, and there's several things that are out there that have been not maintained and or done correctly. I think with the new group that we have and given some guidance, I think that the golf course is looking as good as it's looked in a long time. I think that the people that are doing it do a great job and care about it. As always, I think that we need to put more money into it, but we have restrictions, and I guess our big challenge is ways to find more money. This year, for a significant amount of time, the money was the box was down, and it's like we can't have that. I mean, I don't think I need to use examples, but I'm certainly if the mail didn't work for some reason, we'd still pay our bills. You know what I mean? And so we need to make sure that those things are being monitored continually. And I have great concern because sometimes things at the golf course get out of hand just because of not enough time or not enough money. And I think that somehow we have to have some sort of safety net there to prevent what's went on with the greens. You know what I mean? Now, I think that they have looked better and better this year. We've really worked on them, but I think that the previous years, yeah, they've not been that way. We need to have, if we're going to have recreational facilities, they need to be good. You know what I mean? I'm going to just side note to the ball field that we never play on. You know what I mean? We can't have a golf course like that. You know what I mean? This last week was a busy week for the Cove. I mean, busy. I think every business knows it. And yet, we did not have the golf course mowed. And I had talked to Chris earlier about event prep, and I think that we need to try to start looking more towards not only the events that me and Dave do, but also during Easter week, we need to make sure that the golf course looks good. Memorial Day, that, you know what I mean, event prep, being ready for the people to come and pay. And that's, I
It
think.
just goes back to consistency. It's about owning a golf course. If you have a golf course, you just have to maintain it. And there's plenty of ways that we can get people to play golf here once the course gets to a great standard. And we're close. But I think maybe guidance would be helpful.
Sure.
It can't be all on the shoulders of people that play golf. It needs to be a level higher.
Oh, I want to add one more thing. Really happy Bill Franklin came down, did some work on the golf course. Volunteerism is a big thing here, and I think that we are starting to get that group together that's going to be able to push, hopefully, not only for the golf course, but we've talked about several other beautification programs that could be here to make our little community look a little better. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. All right, Jerry.
Okay, regarding the golf course, the one item I'd like to focus on is the third objective, and that's the improved irrigation system. Ironically, currently we cannot recycle the wastewater to irrigate the golf course, which was, I think, the original design. And I understand that the objections from the state are, nitrates in the discharge, as well as coliforms or other pathogens. And I think there's ways around that, quite frankly. I've done a lot of research and work with using cattails for removing nitrates, and designed a system for an Indian tribe in Arizona that did just that. And we have a culvert of cattails running the length of the runway, which would be more than enough to, I believe, to reduce the nitrates to non-detectable limits. So there goes one objection by the state. The second one would be the coliforms. And I think the answer there is training our own staff and getting us certified so we can run our own coliform tests. It's not hard. I've overseen laboratories doing that before, and I would love to help with that. So we could recapture those costs and use our reclaimed water, and it'd be a real win for the environment and also economically, because we wouldn't be spending money for tap water just to irrigate. So that would be my pushes on this topic.
Wonderful. Thank you. Tasha.
Yes, yeah, I agree with you, Jerry. That's really important. And the district spent a lot of money to be able to use that recycled water, and we haven't been able to for a couple years now. So getting back on top of that would be really helpful. I know you had mentioned at our last meeting, Todd, about having a Dropbox. Did we look further into that for the cash at the kiosk?
No,
Or a QR
I think,
code.
And a QR code.
no, we haven't looked into that.
Okay.
And we did buy airport parking fee collection boxes, and we were considering just replicating that. They're sort of like locking mailboxes, and installing that with an envelope holder at the kiosk for when the kiosk may go down. And that QR code is another hurdle, so we'll have to see about that. That would require
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi. Some other issues, I'm not sure. Probably software and IMT.
Yeah, that on my list. After Wi-Fi for the Cove. Okay. The other thing with the golf course, I think I'm really grateful for you guys to help put together what it is that the district needs to stay on top and maintain the golf course to the level that is necessary. I would say that it is important to recognize, of course, that the weather has something to do with it. And I know think I don't know about this last weekend, but a couple weekends before there, people had kind of complained that it hadn't been mowed, but it had just stopped raining. So we have to also keep in mind, how that the district, for when the district does do the work, it has to be weather permissive. And but yeah, one thing that the other thing you mentioned in the past meeting too, Todd, that the public might not be aware of. Could you talk about the whole moving hole one? Is that still on the
That's that's one of those things that is going to happen at some point. The reality of hole one, it crosses private property. I do not play golf in any place that crosses private property. If you look at the private property that we're shooting across, at some point that will be developed. When it's developed, that hole will no longer be able to be played that way. And I see that the top end of that area is prime real estate for things that we could do with recreation. It's out of the flood zone. It's off the airport zone. It makes a lot of nice things. And I know that many of the golfers are very upset about me talking about this, but the truth is, the minute someone develops that property will be the end of that hole being a dog leg around it. You guys understand what I'm talking about? I'm looking at a lot of blank faces out here. We have the pictures over here.
all the way down?
So here's a golf course right here. See this dog leg right here? We shoot directly over that private property. My wife and I talked about buying that years ago. When we talked about it, they said that to be able to build there, you would have the building be one, and we'd have to have parking all the way around the outside. And all of a sudden, we will not be playing golf anymore. That would mean that we'd have to pull this hole up to here and make it a straight shot. Not going to get rid of it. Can't get rid of it. Have to have 9 holes on the golf course. It'd be a shorter hole. We might elongate at someplace else. But this upper property, and I don't know where it is here on the mapping here that he's got, but that upper property is prime real estate for any sort of recreational facility that we want to put up. Go ahead. Yeah.
I feel like that makes sense. To move it if it is prime real estate for something, because to be like, okay, we don't have space for other recreation things, and yet the golf course uses up so much of that valuable space to be like, hey, we could move this. You guys can still, I don't golf, but still have your space to golf, and then also use this space for other things that would be benefiting the community with other options that the community wants to do. I think that's a great idea.
Thank you, Riley. Did you have any? And I think I'm good on the.
You're good? Okay. I mean, I don't play golf, but I know it's important to this community, and I love that I have a board of really intelligent people that are giving the right suggestions. And just from what I've heard, I think that scheduling and maintaining are kind of the big things here, even just to get it to a surface
I play the dog
level.
leg. I don't cut over that, what he's talking about. And what other golf courses do when you're shot maybe going out of bounds in a private property, it's like there's an existence of an old netting on a pole to keep golf balls. So there's ways that
Ways
can
around
be
it.
kept the same, because we already have 3 par 3s on this golf course. That would make 4
We could
on a
stretch it
9-hole
out,
golf course.
but I'm just going to point out that it will be a very short time before we hear complaints. People bought that Philly building. They bought the Philly building. It is going to be an Airbnb. That's what they told me. And I'm just thinking, if I'm in an Airbnb and it starts getting rattled with walls, they're going to be here complaining about that. And frankly, like I said, I don't know if that property will ever be developed. And if it doesn't, that's okay. And on the other side, if I could buy any property for the RID here to build something, that would be the property that I would buy, because that property is, again, the one that I'm talking about shooting over. It's a huge choice piece of property that's undeveloped right next to our recreational facilities. But we fall back into the same situation of funding. Always comes down to funding, and we'll get there some point today.
It usually does.
Speaking of funding, Chris mentioned it in his opening. I'm curious what the golf course budget is and how most of that money gets spent. I have no idea what that is.
Well, we'll have to get a budget, but it's,
Yes.
I mean, what, like as a percent of the total budget or?
What do you spend on the golf course monthly? What do we need to bring in to make this making money?
Let me look at my computer. Give me a few minutes. I'll get that.
No worries, Chris. What we can do in the meantime
I've
is
never
just
had that conversation,
take
so I
some
don't know.
public
And
comment.
if we could just raise our hand so then she can call on you. We're just trying to follow the proper protocols. Yeah, that's all. It's okay.
No
I
worries.
know.
Well, Chris looks that up.
Thank you.
If anybody has any public comment on this first objective, here, improve the playing experience, feel free to go up to the podium.
Thank you, Ollie.
Make space.
Mally Bauer, and I don't play golf, but I know how viable it is to a community. People love to play golf, and it brings a client, brings a tourism, like people, even if it's just a simple 9-hole course, it has to be watered, it has to be maintained, there has to be grass on it too, like up on the north end, and just, I don't know, Chris is looking at that and the community has, limited resources, but there's so many opportunities to make it more desirable for what we're doing here in Shelter Cove. It's right here, it already exists, and so I think too, there may be a need for, how do you keep greens? What are the patterns? What do you do for rain? What do you do for all of it? But I think it's great that you're looking at the gray water system. We should have a gray water system that can water the airport, so I think there's just a lot of possibility. And there'll be a lot of enthusiasm for it.
Thank you, Ollie.
Let me get back to the budgeting part of it. So are we talking about just the golf course, not parks and recreation?
Yeah,
Just the golf.
sure.
Okay, so I know that the golf course brings in about $12,000 a year, and we spend far more than that on the golf course. I'd have to really scour down through our labor budget and O&M budgets to figure out what we spend, but it's going to be over $150,000 a year.
And real quick, also at the next RID meeting, we'll be looking at the budget.
Yeah.
And so I think we'll be able to have some more of that broken down.
Yeah.
Correct.
What's the number one expense that brings it up to 150K? Labor.
We do have,
That's all.
yeah. And what I would like to add to that real quick is I do think we do have one Parks and Rec district employee where that's where his labor comes out of and he mows and the community center. I do think they're having some kind of training would be definitely helpful.
Has there ever been a park and rec director in the history of the RID?
Yeah.
Someone that was in charge?
Years and years ago, it comes down to budgetary. Yeah.
You could also get intern. Yeah.
Nick.
Yeah, so Nick Pate, community member, kind of wanted to try this site out for once.
It's the same.
So where I grew up in Sacramento, there's a bunch of different golf courses. There's private golf courses that I could never golf at. There's public golf courses, and there's the kind of private, cheaper golf courses. A lot of those golf courses have had to pivot to add different kinds of recreation on their courses. So sharing, we talked about walking tracks, we talked about disc golf. Hagen Oaks, for example, they make a lot of their money on the driving range. People go and use the driving range for recreation because they don't want to go out and actually play a full 9 or 18 holes. The other thing they started doing was soccer and lacrosse golf. So they basically have soccer ball size holes on their course. If you're not a golfer, you can go use the golf course, pay a fee, and use it. And then lacrosse golf was like basically a chucker instead of a driver. So people that aren't good at golf can go out and use that as well. So might not be very popular with sharing with the actual golfers, but other larger courses that have a lot more money have had to do it.
Thank you, Nick. I'm a proponent of the multi-course as well. Yes, Dina.
I can't, you guys, I don't.
Okay.
You guys know I don't have the balance. You're gonna have to put a guy behind me and a guy in
That's
front of
good.
me to hold me up.
You're right.
Now I have toenails cut off, okay?
It's all good. It's all good, Dina. I'm just gonna introduce you, Dina
So,
Baker, for public comment.
With
Go for it.
whatever.
Okay.
All I wanted to
Let's-
say is that years ago, Ron Jones used to mow that area, okay? There's Jenny Jones's
Oh, right.
uncle. Bottom line is, we had gobs, and Todd remembers this, gobs of volunteers that would come out. And I volunteer my bathroom with golfers to go use the potty. So, clean that. But I'm just saying though, is that I think we need to get more volunteers involved in this situation. And that helps offset the 50,000 that we're looking at. And that's all I want to say. And I'm sorry that I can't get up there, Tasha.
No, it's okay, Dina. Thank you very much.
Okay, any more public comment on this first objective? Yeah, go ahead.
Trent Sanders, community member. I just wanted to back up what Nick was saying about the other uses of the golf course. I think there's been this weird culture in Shelter Cove for a long time that the golf course can't be touched by anyone. It can't be used for anything else. It kind of upset the 5 locals that play regularly. I think we got to get past that. We have to start expanding the uses. I mean, if we have $12,000 bringing in and 200,000 in expenses, it's a big expense. I mean, the golf course is a huge asset. It's a holistic approach. You know, the property values might increase 5% in totality because of the golf course. So it's not just the amount of money it brings in, but if it has more options, it attracts way more people. So yeah, move that first hole, let all that property be. That's some of the best prime commercial real estate in Cove is those little section of lots that you're talking about. That's the next spot's gonna get fully developed. That's the best. It's out of the fight zone. It's all flat. You can buy fine. You can build a town square there. You can build a mall there. You can build a lot of stuff. So you can buy them all. That's the next best, most logical spot. And then a fire escapement center, a rec center, pools, all the stuff you can't do in the fight zone would be perfect in that spot. The golfers got a little smaller, so I think everyone's walking on H Hills seems like around the golf course. Massive asset, but it has to be used for other stuff and be a little more versatile. Definitely. Everyone, I think people get a little nervous about saying, but I think it needs to be said. Where we head with that.
Thank you. I'm in agreement.
Okay, anybody else? All right, so we'll move on to the second one here, which is attract more golfers to increase revenue. Are we just going through the objectives, or do you just want to be done with this?
Let's just go.
You want to be done?
This was all.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
that was all.
let's just
This is all
go.
go.
Okay, so we're gonna change it up.
We're attracting more golfers, and when the course is awesome, we'll get it.
Mm-hmm.
Next one.
The-
Yeah, go to
Okay,
maybe go,
do you want me to go through the objectives?
goal by goal.
Yeah.
And if we might have
That's what we're
subdivided.
doing.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
That's what we mentioned.
Okay, so the next goal we're going to look at is encourage recreation and the arts and nature. So this includes enhancing the hiking trails, improving beach access to green belts for improvements and or developments, and then the Coral Point MOU, which we also have up there. Let's see what else is there. There's access to the children's playground, access to assess the labyrinth, and assess the possibility of public art. So we'll start with Wendy. Why not?
Little Black Sands needs some help, and
Mhm.
apparently that's Ridge property, right?
Yep.
I mean, it's scary just walking down there, the asphalt drops off.
Mm-hmm.
So that, I think that would be high on the list. I think you mentioned that it would be cool to have like a whale watching scope where
I did.
people could.
Mm-hmm.
So I think high on my list was Little Black Sands. I love the presentation for Coral Point.
Oh, me too. That was
So
great.
good.
Yeah. Awesome. Simi.
Yeah, I would like to second Wendy about the Coral Point presentation. Those of you who do not know about this, there is a quick drawing here. So that's the full end of Coral Point, and they will have ceremonial dances taking place. Sometimes they bring different things, conservation efforts with the sea urchins and also the kelp. It was a beautiful presentation, and they will do some sort of a fencing with very little impact on the ground. There is no drilling, there is no digging. The presentation was very enlightening, and I like that idea.
They want to have a ceremonial spot.
Correct, yeah. So, and most of them are non-local. I mean, they are different places, like some live in Redway, Garbowl, Salmon Creek. I don't know if anybody live here, but they would like to have this as a gathering place. And it was a very enlightening presentation. Last meeting.
2 meetings
Two-
ago.
two
It was
meetings
the
ago.
the February meeting, so the third.
And that
One
meeting is
Thursday,
available
February.
on YouTube as well if you guys want to watch it. It was actually really cool.
Great.
Oh, that too. Time to see you two kind of go.
So I was understanding that trails were included in this group.
Mhm.
Yep.
So that's one of the things that I think that most of us, we've talked a couple meetings, if you guys haven't seen our meetings or not, that we are very interested in is trying to get more trails in the Cove. Our biggest challenge is the environmental impact report and finding, you know what I mean, something that would work for us. Today, I think we're going to talk about a lot of those areas that are out there that have opportunities for us to put trails on. If we can work with the BLM, it will be easier because they'll do some of the footwork for us for the environmental impact report. But that does not mean that we've got trails in the Cove. That means that we've got maybe on the edges of the Cove if we're lucky. And I think that probably we should really try to focus on getting more trails here locally. It's interesting because I was talking to Wendy about the fact that there was a planned another 9 holes. It goes up the trail of where the fitness trail is and circles around. We'll never have that another 9 holes. It's never going to happen. But it's a beautiful valley that you can walk through. I mean, it's a nice walking path. And when we have people here, especially me in the bistro, what can I do here locally that's, you know what I mean, that I have done? I've done like the 8 things that I can do here. It's like, oh, well, the fitness trail starts right on over there, and you can walk through the labyrinth and up there. It'd be nice for us to work a pattern where it's a circular pattern, and they can take off and then come back to another area. And I'd really like to work on that. Now, I know that Nick has some expertise, and he knows the areas pretty well, and we might be able to get a little help from the fire department because of the brush removal that could be good for our community. So it seems like it's a win-win-win situation, but it's trying to put those things together and get a group that can put together the environmental impact report because, you know what I mean, that's money again, that's going to be, yeah, we just don't have the resources. The resources are not there. So that's my input on that little spot right there. Thank you.
Thanks, Todd. All right, Jerry?
I don't think the EIR is a big deal.
That's what I like to hear from you guys.
We always get.
You go for a negative declaration, it takes you, half an hour.
I like that.
Not a big deal.
Thank you, Jerry. You haven't been at the last few meetings, so I can only remember what I know,
Well,
what I'm told.
okay, I've only written a few EIRs, so.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to comment on this idea about the Eel River glasses on. Wailaki plant. I thought that was outstanding, that presentation 2 months ago. And I'm really glad to see that we're in agreement there, hopefully, and we're pushing that. I thought that was one of the things that really came out. I also liked it. There was one here buried in here about this community garden. And I thought that was kind of an interesting idea. Use some of our land for a community garden to see out the community. And I take the place of our food bank that we used to have. And then the third thing I just want to comment on is my wife Nina and I were in a small little coastal town in Italy a couple weeks ago, Vico and Quincy, and they had a sign on the beach that showed the various trash items, like cigarette butts and lighters and things, and how many years it would take for that to break down. It was very enlightening. And we took a picture of it. It'd be real easy to replicate. But I think if we scattered, made a few of those signs and from along the beach area, I think that would help us some as well. Just heighten everybody's awareness. So those are my thoughts under this category.
Thank you so much. And I know Tristan just joined us. Do you have any thoughts on this one?
Just talking about what we should.
It's for the encourage recreation and arts and nature.
For the trails.
The trails. I mean, I'm open to whatever the public wants to do. I'm just gonna go with that. Yeah, I'll just wait until it's sick.
Okay, great. Tristan? Or Tristan, Jesus. Tasha?
Tasha?
Jeez.
TNT. Yeah, I think beach access needs to be looked at wherever we can, and probably working with BLM, getting a safer beach, easier access to the beach, maybe, and even for ADA compliance at some point. If there was a spot that people felt safe and being able to access the coast easier. And let's see what else. I like your idea of the community garden, or I guess we just wherever that idea came from. That's really cool. The beautification. I know Wendy brought it up, and Todd's been bringing it up a lot about, and I think this could go to under this is just having locals, signs telling people where they're at, and maybe the flora and fauna on the trails, little signs once we start mapping out where the trails are going to be. And I was wondering, Chris, if you could speak to the MOU that we have with the Walaki for Coral Point real quick.
Yeah, we do have an MOU with the Eel River Willamette for the use of Coral Point. I'm not sure.
I mean, as far
there's no deadline or anything on it.
Yeah, no,
It's just open-ended until the RID wants to end it.
Yeah.
So basically, allowing them to use that piece of greenbelt as they see fit.
So
there was the first year of the MOU, we asked for like a cultural demonstration. I think at least one for that first year, which did happen. Since then, it's been kind of open-ended.
Yeah, so right now I think they're pretty much taking on any of those projects, is what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, I'm excited about looking at where we can implement trails. I think a walking path would be very beneficial to the community. We have the daily groups that walk the circle, the loop almost every day, and definitely we have more traffic now. And I've been hearing some complaints about almost getting hit, people driving too fast, and so a good walking path for the community, I think, would be very beneficial, as well as hopefully connecting with our fire breaks and with the BLM trails, bike trail, etc.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I would say definitely, I mean, I agree with Todd too, having an Airbnb, the hiking trails, it's just kind of like you always have those guests, you're like, okay, what else is there to do? And most of the tourists that I get at least are eco-tourists, so they do want to hike and they do want to kind of be in nature, and I think that would be an amazing thing to do. I also think Little Black Sands now also needs a nice little whale watching experience, but also some improvements with the trailhead down, the parking lot that's crumbled. There are a lot of safety hazards there too that I think need to be addressed and maintained. On top of that, let's see what else is there. The Coral Point MOU, that was so cool. Taking out the invasive urchins, redoing the sea kelp, and also just having their traditional demonstrations, I think would be really awesome, not for tourists, but also for locals too. I think it's something that can bring everyone together and kind of really learn the history of where we are. So I'm definitely into that. The one thing that nobody's really talked about is the children's playground, and I do think there needs to be a little bit of a maintenance plan for that. And let's see, labyrinth, possibility of art. I'm always down for possibility of public art. I think having interchangeable sculptures, new art coming in, things like that to bring people here and kind of look at and get inspired by is always a good thing and really helps the community. I think that's it for that one. Wendy, yeah.
Todd and I were talking about cool public art feature could be a tide clock. Like instead of a Big Ben tell the time clock, but a tide clock. Would be fun.
Oh, I like that.
That being said, I think we need a welcome to Shelter Cove sign down on the runway that can be the branded logo that can be.
Great idea. All right, so now we're going to open this up to public comment. Please.
My name's Nina Jackson, and back about 6.5 years ago, when my husband and I moved here, over where the lighthouse is, there were steps to get down to the water. Those no longer exist, and I was curious. Anybody know what happened?
Yeah.
What?
I've called them up 3 times, and they said, "Oh, it's going to be there, but it takes so much time to get grants." And I said, "I already know how long it takes."
Who is that? Who are you calling?
Hold on one second.
Huh?
BLM?
Yeah.
Is that them?
BLM.
But
That's
there
you.
were
I got
steps,
to
the
the-
steps are removed. Does
Yes,
anybody know?
if I could address that real quick, and maybe Jessica, you might have something to add to it. That is under BLM jurisdiction, and they did say that they were going to be revamping that area, and instead they took out the steps and made it. They took them out, they removed them, and I believe for liability. But Jessica, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. They removed the majority of the steps and said they had no time to go back to the upper part.
Okay, so we don't have control over that area then.
We don't,
Okay.
but I wouldn't necessarily give up on that. Like, I think that we do need to be reaching out to BLM and letting them know, maybe even as a community, that they removed those steps because they said they were a safety hazard, but now it's even more of a safety hazard. And so maybe at some point we could have the community sign a letter, the district could write a letter to the BLM asking for safer access. Yeah, because it is them and they took it out.
And the tide pool brings in tourists.
Yep.
Big time. Oh, we did the tours.
Anyone else have public comment?
Alan. There's a lot here, and there's a lot already here in Shelter Cove. Point like with the golf course, and to work on improving the trails that we have already, the trail down to Wedding Point, the Bill Franklin Fitness Trail. I know there's been a lot of work on the fitness trail. It already exists, and then to tie it in, using the green belts and, fire breaks as they can be, simple, like, and that, there's just so much that's already here, and they're marked here, so, I don't know how volunteer days work, but I do think there's a lot of possibility just improving and then growing from there. And I know that Amy and Simi, they've worked on maps and just starting to map the place, so that we all know what's available, and then so does the tourism, because it can be a super walking friendly place.
Yep. Anybody else?
Josh, can I just really quickly?
Yes.
Since my name was mentioned, yes. So we have added all the trails, like Nature Trail, Bill Franklin Trail, Labyrinth on the map.
Oh,
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Where do you get those maps?
Oh, so these are the maps we printed, like 2-sided maps.
Okay.
And it's available at the gift store, restaurants, shops.
Oh,
hotels.
perfect. Okay, thank you.
I just want to say something about our community garden. I love that we have a community garden, but as a farming community, which we have been, I think we can do so much better, and that there are things called food forests, and like you said, maybe changing this out for the food situation here in the Cove. That's something that can be regenerative. So a food forest takes 5 years to set up where it is like a normal forest, where it will take care of itself. The trees will drop, they'll create mulch, they'll create everything that the plants need to continue to thrive. So if we had something where we could put in 5 years and we had a space to do that, I know our community has the information and the farmers that are able to come in to do that. So just getting that information, I know that's something that I would totally be into helping create here. Learning about different places in like Costa Rica where they have huge communities where they have massive food forests and everyone pitches in and everyone, contributes to that. And because of they are regenerative and they can just take care of themselves after a while, it would be an initial investment, but then they would just take care of themselves. And that's something that would be really beneficial and cool to bring people into this area. So when you guys said that, I was like, oh wow, that'd be really awesome. And we can just do so much better on our community garden. It's so awesome, but like I envision something so much bigger for who this community is, the farmers and the knowledge that is here in this community that we can just do so much.
Thank you, Riley. Yes, and adding on to, I mean, we'll be getting to the community center in our goals here. But at some point, if we do want to expand the community center, we may have to move the children's garden. So maybe that could be on our radar, looking for a big enough piece of property that we can do it. We can do all of it. Yeah, and definitely it would help with the food insecurity here in the Cove. Thank you, Dina.
All right, anyone else before we move on to the clubhouse? Okay, so we're going to move on to upgrade the community clubhouse. And as always, we'll start with Miss Wendy.
I was gonna say, why don't we start on your end, Miss Ball?
Oh, okay. We can switch it up if you want. I think if anyone knows me, they know that I'm 100% down to upgrade the community clubhouse. I think it needs maintenance now, and I think it needs plans to upgrade in the future, and also a plan on how to get there and how to do it successfully. I definitely think there should be a security system. I think it'd be awesome to have an electric vehicle charging station. Youth focused activities, senior services. I mean, literally everything on these action items I agree with. Yeah, so everything. The children's garden, I agree, it does need to be bigger. And, if we do upgrade this, it will have to be moved. And we could do something really rad like the food forest. I love that. Yeah. All right, Tasha.
I was going to see, Chris, if you would mind speaking about the community center just for a second, just like some of what we're looking at the immediate, what needs to be addressed immediately, or as close to immediately as within the next year or so.
Yeah, I know there's a pretty bad leak. I think it's coming from the south. One of the south windows runs down into the library, so we have to basically reside that whole south exterior wall, probably replace some windows. And we have one bid that's probably going to be around 30,000 or so. Then, the roof is probably about ready to be done too. There used to be a leak, I think, around the hood of the oven there. So there's some pretty significant expenditures on the horizon for the clubhouse.
Just for the basic.
Yeah.
Or
just
what?
Keep it watertight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Regardless of, not including like the upgrades like the security system.
Yeah.
Anything inside. Like, we can probably get some low hanging fruit, like new tables, but other than that, it's going to be a little bit of time.
Okay. So what I would like to add with the community center, definitely, eventually, I would love to see when we are able to check out the kitchen, get flooring that's easy to clean. Same in the bathrooms. We already did that. We haven't redone the bathroom floors yet. Right? Yeah. Anybody that has done events, held events there, or had to do any cleanup at the community center knows it's a very difficult building to keep clean with the products, with the type of building materials they used. The floors are they just trap dirt. It's really hard to get them sanitized. So definitely when we look at redoing the community center, making sure that we're replacing and placing more easy to clean, user-friendly material would be great.
Yeah, I wanted to interject too. We are trying to work on our policy for renting of the community clubhouse. There have been weddings and events there. Right now, I believe our annual revenue budget for rental of the facility is around $2,000. So it doesn't really pay for so we're trying to increase that.
Okay. And along with that, there was something else. We really need to get lights on the ramp going down to the parking lot at night. That's definitely a safety, a hazard. Yeah.
Well, and if I might just add to that, also the ramp is not up to code. I saw several elderly women almost trip and fall because there is a dip in the ramp.
Out here hasn't looked good either.
Yeah, yeah. And, but the community center, because especially with the pioneers and stuff, we have a lot of elderly women and even just disabled. I mean, it's not good. So I would say that ramp should definitely be on the top of the priority list, at least for me.
I mean, I guess I would say I would love to eventually see the old plans for the new clubhouse somehow revived eventually down the line. Maybe that special utility property tax to figure out something. I think we need a new event space. I think something that we could actually really make revenue off, like to venues, to weddings, and also if businesses wanted to come out here and do like their corporate meetings, or if people wanted to put on like just a lecture like in a really nice space. I think that would be really like a huge asset. And also getting really neat out of town, I don't know, theater and stuff like that to visit. I think eventually we do need like a really nice community clubhouse. Right now I would say like just painting the inside. I wonder if maybe we could do like a community painting day. I mean, everyone knows how to use the blue tape, I'm sure, in this community. We could probably get some white paint, but I mean, that would be like I would just, love to see everything nice and white in there. But I guess there's other things too, but I think that might be like one that we could get done as a community and wouldn't cost us a lot, and it would make it look a lot nicer too.
Jerry.
Yeah, I have three thoughts relative to the community clubhouse. I agree with Laura. I like the idea of the charging station. I mean, it would bring in some revenue. It'd kind of be progressive, environmentally good as well. So you put one in, didn't you, Amy? A charging station?
Yes. So really quickly, if we were to do the regular, what I have is called the level 2, which it takes about 1 hour, 40 miles. But if you want to do supercharger, they are super pricey. They are $250,000 for 4 units.
I go back to level 2.
Level 2 is $500 a piece, but it takes longer to charge. So the supercharger would be a fantastic.
But at least it's something.
It's something,
yes.
Yes.
The person's there going through the library or whatever, they're getting a car charged too, and we're getting some revenue.
It's only $500 a piece, yeah.
Well, that's how we keep them at our events, right?
This second item, I just think the comment of the concerts, et cetera, the theater. I agree with you. We ought to be thinking bigger. The weddings, we ought to be thinking bigger. How can we get some more revenue in there to attract more people?
Yeah, because you do see often, like now in like beautiful areas where they'll have like a stage and they'll host like a ballet, from New York, and it's like all about like just the scenery. And then, it's like,
And then lastly, just the library space. I always breaks my heart to go in that library, and I love that library. And I feel like what a gift we have. I mean, it's free, it's honor system. When we first moved here, I couldn't believe we were right in the throes of COVID. It was a lifesaver.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see that thing expanded. Give us more.
The clubhouse. How many changes has it been through since I first got here? Chris can tell you, he used to have a nice little clubhouse for the golfers down there, and they'd sell balls and shirts and things like that. It was a really nice little thing, but apparently the funding wasn't there. Then it changed into a bar, and that went for a while. And then we reclaimed it again for our community, and it's been the same way for all those years. I use it several times a year for many different events, and I, with the Pioneers, have used it for many events. It needs to be re-looked at. It needs to be readjusted. as you say, well, let's put something big there. How many people can we put in it during the daylight time? Under 100. You know what I mean? There are rules that we have on that place, and that's part of the reason why I say it needs to be completely rethought. I wanted for the last little while to put a laundromat down where the boats went, but I've been told by the RID that we can't do that. I would like to find a way to do it. I'm sure there is a way. I'm sure that we can find with some way to make that happen. It would make revenue. It would make people there all the time almost to be in the library. It'd be a win for the library. It'd be a win for the garden. It'd be a win for that whole unit right there. And we make more money. I just do not understand how we can make that happen because of the roadblocks that have been put in front of us by what has been told to us. But as I said, I think that we need to at some point relook at that. I also think that we're all talking about trying to find some sort of revenue there. And that's going to take more than just paint on the walls. You know what I mean? And I guess probably in some level will be us. And we need to listen to you guys on what we want. But the concept of blowing that up into something that's having huge weddings there is never going to happen because of the restrictions that we have. You know what I mean? I think that there's several other spots in the Cove. I think that that would be a good thing for the locals to do, is to say, you know, who thinks there's a good spot out there that's RID property? Tell us about it and why it should be used. Because again, revenue is what we're talking about. Everything's going to come down that we're discussing today to revenue. And although I know that I'm going to get off the point here, but at some point we're going to have to talk about whether or not we're going to take a big tax here for recreation. I mean, everybody knows it. And the question is what are we willing to pay? And I think that for me, that's the biggest reason I called this meeting today, or wanted to have this meeting today, was to see what the input from our community is on, you want $100 a year tax on your property? Will you pay
the
it?
tax is on every property in the Cove.
Well,
and
will
so
we
it
add
would
another
also
one?
It would also include absentee landowners.
Yeah,
And that's
well, we
one of the
can make
things
it.
is, just a second, is right now, who's actually paying for the services, for the maintenance of the lines, for new sewer? It's the people living here. And so if we do not have this tax, we're pretty much just punishing ourselves, the ones who live here. We need to include every lot in making the Cove better. And that is where the special utility tax is going to come in. It's going to include everyone. And otherwise, it's just going to be you, me, us paying for everything. And so that's why this tax is actually a wonderful thing. And it's so necessary. I mean, when was the last time it was raised? In like the 80s? So
I'm sorry, I'm confused by what you say. How much of that money is going to go to recreation?
Yeah.
we'll see, these things will all be decided. And right now, none of it is.
I'm talking about a
Hey guys,
tax
can we
on
raise
the
hands
board
here so we can have
for
a
us to vote on
conversation?
the next election
Yeah.
for
and
$100 more for recreation and nothing else.
No, that's.
I'm not talking about what you're talking about. I'm talking about something different.
Oh, okay. I don't know what
Okay.
you're talking about then.
I'm just talking additional
Okay,
thing.
so
Would
I'm talking about the actual thing that we have discussing
I'm
on
gonna
the
use my
board,
little.
not just like here saying like, oh, just throwing
Right,
numbers.
and I know we all feel strong about this, but I think it's important that when someone's done, they're done, and then the other person wants to comment, they raise their hand and we can go back and forth thoughtfully. So, all right, so this ended with Tristan. Todd, do you have a
I'm done.
rebuttal?
That's cool.
Tasha, I know you had something to say. Do you have anything to say?
Well, I was just going to clarify that they were talking about two different things. Tristan, you're talking about the special utilities tax. And again, that'll be at the next RID meeting. We'll be going into that further, and it'll be broke down so you can see how much money would actually be going to the utilities and how much for recreation and how that all works out. So that there'll be more clarification.
Yeah, I didn't know what Todd was talking about.
I think Todd is referring to like later down the road if we need to. I mean, what we're looking at, we're probably at some point we might have to look at a recreation tax that's just recreation, but like how we have just the fire department tax. But right now the district is focusing on the special utility tax, which is definitely needed for all of our infrastructure needs. And I can only say, I believe, yeah, I don't want to get into much in the weeds on that because we'll be discussing that at the next RID meeting. But it's my understanding that most of it goes to to the utilities, that tax, and then may be able to free up money for the recreation, is how I'm understanding it. But there'll be more details at the RID meeting. We'll be going like really looking at how that all breaks down and the percentages. And yeah, see if we do in a few years down the line have to do a actual Parks and Rec tax. Because I'm not sure that the special utilities tax is going to bring in enough to accomplish what we're out to accomplish here.
Chris, do you want to add anything on that, or are you good?
Yeah, I think I was clear that Todd was talking about an additional direct charge tax just for Parks and Rec, and Tristan was talking about the special utilities tax, which was enacted in 1981, and that is explicitly for the 3 district utilities, water, power, sewer. However, Gushin makes the point where there could be ancillary benefits if you buy something that's used for water, power, sewer. You might also be using it on the golf course, say, for instance. So that's how it's kind of benefits both. We have that tax is explicitly for the utilities.
Yeah. Thank you for that clarification.
Okay, and I think we ended with Todd. Todd, did you have anything else you wanted to add about the clubhouse? Okay, so Simi, you're next.
Yes, so I have a comment. I have 2 children, and they're both like about 20 months now, and we are thinking about their future. So we're thinking about, we already signed up for Whale Gulch to be in line to get admitted. And then also we started taking them to the clubhouse for the Monday playgroup. And I did not know that we had an activity like that in Shelter Cove. There's about 14 kids show up. Yeah, so like I just wanted to thank everybody and also RID and the community to keep that happen. Otherwise, we have to do the job and take the kids to beginning or Whitethorn, which is about 30-40 minutes of drive. So that adds to the quality of life for us. That's amazing that Piper Keenan, who's the main person who's taking care of that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Simi, just real quick. Simi, do you have any ideas? I mean, since you're taking your little ones to the playgroup, are there things that you would like to see, or any enhancement for the playgroup?
They do a good job. So the week before Easter, they had the bouncing thing, the bouncing palace or something, and then they had Easter egg hunt. The Monday before Easter, they had a bunch of other activities, and they provide snacks, they provide learning opportunity, and there is no age gap there. So it's like mine are 20 months, and then there are up to I think 7 years old, 6 years old. So they do a good job with the limited resources they have. They work in coordination with the county office in Red Wing. So that's the program, I guess, support that.
And they use the children's garden quite a bit.
Well, last week they did because it was more outdoorsy, nice weather. But it's at the old pantry place. That's where it is.
That's so great. That's so awesome for socialization too out here. I really love to hear that. Yeah. And then Wendy's next, and then it's public comment. Yeah.
And I'm disagreeing with everything that we all said. Yes, we need an emergency lipstick on a pig. Yes, we need to have a bigger vision for the future. I mean, all of it. I couldn't agree more. It's a community hub, and I have a hard time with the community hub being closed all day long. So I would like to see a vibrant facility that's open. You can go inside and sit on a leather couch and watch TV while your laundry's spinning downstairs. I mean, I don't know. But I just feel like if it's a community center, it should be open. Am I done, or do I need to raise my hand?
It's still your turn.
I still have this concept of vending machines. If it's closed and there is no way to get inside to buy stuff, you can buy anything from a credit card, from a vending machine. So if we do get stamped golf balls or a hat or a Twix bar or a bottle of water, you can make money off a vending machine.
I love vending machines. I think that's a great idea. Yeah. All right. Well, if that's it for the board, then now it's public comment. Please go ahead.
I just wanted to give a little bit of history on the playgroup. That was started 21 years ago. And we were, it's sponsored by California First Life. So it's a state program. That's why they provide the snacks and the people that run it are qualified early childhood educators. And so it's from 0 to 5 years old is the program. And it came out to Shelter Cove from Lisa Henninger, who started it in Redway. And it came out here. I was one of the very first founders of, helped out that in Shelter Cove. And we did it primarily because when we all came here with our little babies, we didn't know there were other young families. All we thought was it was a retirement community. And so when that started and we were, the RID and Pioneer provided the insurance and the RID provided the facility, community center, actually it was started here. This is where it was started. And then it moved down there when the bar got closed down. And so, you know, that is an example of different agencies coming together and working together. And I can't believe that it's still going strong 21 years later because it was a lifesaver for us with babies and making connections with other moms and other babies. And just those kids all grew up together. Some of my best friends are the women and the men that I've met in that play group. So I'm thrilled that it's still going and that people are still utilizing it.
If I may say so. Yeah, thank you so much, Pauline, for the comments. I didn't know the history and the background, but it's such a great help for us. With the 2 young kids, you have to get them out and meet with other community members and things. But thank you.
Hey, babe, I'm actually going to be speaking as a fire chief on this one. So the current community center is very, very gray on whether or not it meets the current fire code. And we've remodeled it so many times, as Todd was saying. And underneath it is totally unsafe for any other use than what we're using for, which is storage. It was never done with permits. We tried to kind of consolidate all the different work that's been done there to see where we're at with it. And what frustrates me is we already solved this going back 15 years when I started talking about the replacement project. You know, coming into that, I've been coming to RID meetings, probably Jack and Sue are the only ones that have been to more. Over the last 15 years as a fire officer, I had to do as part of my duties. Started coming when I was 19, and now I'm 35. And so when I started coming to these, I thought I was going to slide in there. We were going to get a new community center that those guys had built, and I was going to get to use it for the next 40 years. Now it's going to be our generation trying to build that, right? And it's unfortunate that we're in that time where this community center is like a junker car, right? We're going to keep fixing it. We're going to keep fixing it because we don't have enough money for a new car. But over 15 years, we paid $40,000 for the same $1,500 Jeep, right? So that's kind of where we're at with it. I think to the fire department example of what we did with our fire tax, we put a special tax on. For years, it was $25. $25 gives about $190,000. So you guys can do the math if you want to scale that up for a Parks and Rec tax. It goes on every parcel around, 4,100 parcels, whether it's buildable or not. If you have a parcel, it gets taxed. Now, if you merge it, we lose that money, right? So around $190, $25. We increase that to $99 and then $125 for residential homes and then $250 for commercial. Every single person's property value and their insurance has covered that in full. There's houses right now that are getting $4,000 worth of work on this USDA grant that we got. That covers all your fire tax, right? And so if we build another community center, I think Trent said it, our property values are going to cover most of what that property tax would be. It's just how we form that narrative to tell the public over the time. Same thing with the chargers. I know you guys brought up the superchargers. 250 grand sounds like a lot of money, but if the RID is a $65 million entity with our assets, like 200 grand can't be a roadblock for us to going forward in the future. We have to look at that. The RID is going to be forever. Right? That's the intent and the goal of it, right? And so we have to look at spreading that cost out forever as long as we can make some sort of funds and make that. And so grants are definitely the way to go, but grants, you have to look at what our capacity is in our current state, and we have to totally prioritize those grants, right? Fire, water, power, sewer, Parks and Rec is never going to be the priority on that. As much as we all love to recreate and do that, we're talking about life-saving functions with power, water, fire, sewer. So that's a conversation we're going to have. If I would love to go out and get a $65 million Parks and Rec grant, we're going to have our partners, right? The Wallachies, every group that we have in Shelter Cove is going to have to take on more in order to be successful in those. because we just don't have the personnel to facilitate that upgrade in the current.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Like, always so well said.
Just have a quick comment. I think we definitely need a long-term plan. And so we're talking a lot about building a new facility. Fabulous. With the current facility that we have, we could get volunteers. We need pizza, we need plants, we need, curtains, I mean, all kinds of things that you can do, you could do with volunteers. This doesn't cost a lot. And so we need to organize that short term while we've got the long term.
Yeah, you know, you just gave me an idea, Nina. It's just like maybe even like a monthly, just like, you know, every single month, kind of like how the play group is free. And that's why I enjoyed it so much, no matter what. If Petra and I were well, we were going. And if we weren't, it was still there and you'd see them next time. And so, yeah, something like a volunteer where you could like just consistently have it every month, get stuff finished, done, and then move on to, another project.
This month's project.
Yeah. Because I think, you know, also Todd had a great point about how we do have a lot of great stuff here. We just need to like finish it and bring it up to, you know, par.
Go ahead. Tasha, do you have something to add?
No.
No? Okay. All right. So what, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I agree with 100% everything that Nate said. But it's like Back to the Future. I'm glad we're finally back where we should have been 10 years ago. The community was ready for that new rec center 10 years ago, but the people here weren't. Not the people, a lot of people weren't. They were fighting for unknown reasons, and now we're all going, man, we should have built that building. Density issues and stuff, that can all be dealt with. There's a lot of nuances of how to offset is like kind of an offset way you can get more occupancy on the land use. But that's what we're planning conversation. That's not for us. That's for the planning department and negotiations with aeronautical and stuff. But a building or any kind of architecture speaks about a community. And if you want to create value in the community, you want to get people here and have people move here and create property value, which we all want, you have to make statements like that. You have to have architecture building a facility. Otherwise, it's podunk down. That's what people do. They see nice buildings, they see facilities, they see trails. They want to be here, they want to live here. Then it creates more property value for people that are here. And it builds on itself, and business is sustainable. But right now, business is not sustainable, barely. There's not enough locals to spend enough, and there's not quite enough tourists. So all the businesses are limping along just on the edge of survival. Hotels, restaurants, breweries, there's not quite enough locals. There's not quite enough tourists. Everyone doesn't want too many tourists or to get overrun, but there's 40 miles of forest and unlimited ocean. There's no development going to happen beyond. Shelter Cove's fully developed. They keep saying this. It's fully developed in the sense that the roads, the streets, the subdivisions, the use and the zoning's done. It's just not infilled. It's developed, not infilled. And we need more infill, and it can only infill to a certain degree. Like Tristan said, the mentality and the kind of direction the code's been going for the last 30, 40 years is let's keep taxing and punishing people who live here instead of making the other people who don't live here that are benefiting from it by increased property values benefit from us, and we got to pay. So like if you have a vacant lot, it went from value of $20,000 to $200,000. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to put a brush. Yeah, we're sitting here paying higher utilities, dealing with failed culverts. Who pays for that? Most people live here. There's only 500-600 houses. The other 3,500 lots or whatever, however many, they're sitting vacant, benefiting from all of everyone's work that comes to meetings and does it. We definitely need a recreation tax. This is a resort. It's not a public. This isn't a low-income housing unit. We live in a resort community. We have the resort services. We need more resort services. And the only way to really get there without, the clubhouse is ill-conceived building, built poorly. It's had problems since the first day. It's been leaking since the first day they built it. 30 years, like, cheap, you put money into it. Why you do it? Well, you got to keep driving it. There's no choice, but you need a better facility. You only rent for $2,000 a year because it's awkwardly designed. It's not really big enough for anything. No one can use it for a corporate retreat. Nobody really, memorials, but nobody really wants to have a real wedding event there. It's a weird square box with windows are placed awkwardly and a weird staircase. And moldy basement. It's like not really useful. I don't know anyone really that comes from out of the area and wants to use it. Like, I don't want to rent that place. We use it because that's all we have, and it is what it is. But we do need a real facility, and if we don't have one, you don't attract events, you don't attract weddings, you don't attract commerce, you don't attract residents because they see, I told Julie the story. Young couple was at the brewery. They got married and honeymoon in the Cove a couple years ago. They were back, and they said the only reason they came back was because of the brewery and the cool factor, how they like the ambiance and the de facto. It's a de facto community center of the brewery. Everyone hangs out and by the fire pit. That's what it is. And they came back because of that reason. And they expected the Cove to be like nothing. And they go, this is cool. That's why we come back. So that's an example of why people will come. If you have a really nice recreation center. The dogleg area is a great spot. The whole huge chunk of land that goes from the totem pole all the way to the sewer plant. That's a massive chunk of land. There's all these other areas out, or you can demo and put it there. There's so many opportunities. But the goal is to build a better building and eventually just demo that one or do something else. It's never really right for anything.
Thank you so much. Yeah, if you build it, they will come, right? All right, guys, this is what we're going to do now. We're going to take a quick 15-minute break, and in the meantime, I'm going to hand you out these lovely little stickers. Everyone gets 5.
We haven't done airports yet.
Oh, we're just going to take a little break, and then we're going to come back and do that. Yeah, we're saving the best for last, Jerry. So what we're going to do is hand out these little lovely stickers, and you guys will go over there and then place a sticker on your top 5 priority. And then we'll come back, we'll finish airport, and I promise you'll be first. And then we'll go into public comment of anything that isn't already on the agenda. All right, thanks, guys.
I just thought we skipped it.
No, we were gonna take a break at about an hour, and we're at an hour and a half.
We need to sell the SAA on the shared bathroom, shared restroom space.
Okay.
Or the sport court.
We got probably a lounge.
Okay.
The porta potties aren't big enough.
Okay. Are we,
Well, there's an issue with the sport court and the amount of people that will be at the sport court and the porta potty. How do you achieve a bathroom situation for that? That's what's on the table of discussion. So I'm trying to be like, well, how do we tie that in with the airport and maybe get them to help fund bathroom? Because who uses it the most? It's
Okay,
freaking
Wendy.
Coast Guard. But I'm just saying it'd be a nice shared entity.
Break is over. Thank you, Wendy, for that little segue
I didn't know we were
to the airport.
Well, I knew I had a question for him.
So regarding enhancing the airport, I think we should definitely start with Jerry on this one. So Jerry, I'll let you start with this.
Well, obviously, this is a topic near and dear to my heart. Being a pilot, aircraft owner, and using it. This is how I discovered Shelter Cove. A lot of pilots have. 40 years ago, I flew here from Arcata for something to do, and that's how I discovered Shelter Cove. I've been coming back ever since. I do have quite a few of these I want to at least touch upon. I apologize. One of these that pops up here that I think is a bad idea is a perimeter fencing, and I suspect that's a federal requirement, and I think that would ruin the ambiance and also the uniqueness. I kind of love the fact that people can wander around and there's an airport and be eating their burger at Jippo's
and not have to look through a chain link
yeah,
fence.
yeah. I don't like the idea of a chain link fence at all. I like this idea of an information kiosk for pilots. We could probably maybe we coordinate that with a restroom. Is there a restroom there, Wendy? Parking fees. So I've kicked around this idea for years. I think we're missing out on at least some revenue, and I cringe every time I hear a member of the public criticize the fact we have a runway and it just costs and there's no income. I always cringe at that because I realize the value of the runway for a lot of reasons, not only recreational, but safety and evacuation, et cetera. But if we could just have a nominal amount of money for the overnight transient pilots, I see this, and I've told Chris this, he's sick of me saying it. I've seen this up and down the state. I've probably flown into 50 or more airports in this state alone. And it's very common to have at least a $5 overnight fee. And it's usually done on an honor basis. I brought an example here from Los Baños, but you see them even Garberville. It's an honor basis thing. Most pilots are paranoid of bad karma, so they're happy to help their karma by paying the $5 fee. And I think I know we're moving in that direction. I'm glad to see it because at least it would bring in some income. And I suggested maybe for us pilots, like there he is, that where we do have aircraft in other airports, but we do come here and spend it. I do that a lot with my aircraft. I'll bring it out from Garberville and land it here overnight when I have an early flight the next day. Maybe for us local pilots, we get like an annual sticker. We pay a little something for an annual sticker that allows us to overnight, not have to worry about the overnight fees. And again, at least you got something, and at least we're helping out some. And those are my ideas about the parking fees. And I know it's going to be covered here in more detail. It's in a RID meeting, I guess. And I'm all in favor of it. I think it's a great idea. The other ones I want to comment on, hangars. Now, I love the ambiance of the Cove. Even though I'm a pilot, I ended up electing to build a hangar out in Garberville, just because one, I didn't want to get lynched by the community here, and two, I just love the ambiance here without the hangars. The airport is kind of a background feature and not in your face. I think hangars would ruin that. The fuel service, again, I'm dead against that, and I'm dead against it for environmental reasons. My company does a lot of cleanups of underground storage tanks that have leaked. When they've leaked, man, now you're talking $500,000 $1 million problem. And then if you go above ground, then you got the aesthetics. Again, you got a big white tank sitting there, and then you got to worry about how you distribute it to the pilots. And even though it'd be neat and convenient, I don't think it's a great idea. Let them go land at Garberville or Murray Field or someplace, Little River or something, to get fuel there. Emergency lighting's not a bad idea. Again, though, it's the aesthetics. You can always get it so it's goes on when the pilot hits radio frequency. It'll turn the light on. You know, a lot of airports will have that. So they're not on all the time. So when a pilot needs them, he can click his microphone and it will turn on the lights for him to land. You know, I don't know about that. I'm kind of on the fence of that because again, the aesthetics, but I like the safety side of it. My two ideas that aren't on this list that I really wanted to take and run with. The first one was called an AWOS system, AWOS, Automatic Weather Observation System. Many little airports, including Garberville, have these. And they're real-time information for pilots about visibility, ceiling, wind direction, and they're a safety item. They also allow a pilot to make a decision, should I even continue? Usually you can pick them up 50 miles from the airport. So it allows the pilot to make that decision. Gee, you know, Shelter Cove's fogged in. I'm going to divert and go to a different airport. So I want to push that idea. I'm actually going to talk to some people tomorrow about what does it cost? Can we get a grant? You know, if we can get an AWOS system here for our airport. And the second, and this is my last comment, is along those same lines. I would love to see an instrument approach here. And I would say we go with the RNAV GPS instrument systems. Doesn't require any land-based equipment. You know, the aircraft have the equipment on board, so it's no real expenses. It's just a matter of going through the steps with the FAA. The AOPA, Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association, has published on their website, how do you do this? What are the steps? And they say it really enhances the community's use of your airport. I can believe that. You know, as an instrument rated pilot, I would love to have an instrument approach here to allow me to get in, you know, when we have overcast conditions and still be able to use the airport. I'm sure a lot of pilots out there are in the same boat, same airplane that I'm in. So again, I want to try and at least flesh that idea out more for us to see, so we can stare at it and say, okay, what would this take for us to put in an instrument approach? And I'm curious, Trent, when the public talks, I want to hear your thoughts on these ideas too. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Jerry. That's a wealth of information, and I love those extra ideas. Those are really solid. All right, so let's go down the line. Let's just go with Todd.
I have no expertise in this, and so I really don't have much input.
No worries. Benny?
I like the only area where I could go offline with you, Jerry, on this too. I heard a fueling facility because there are different kind of fuels too. I learned it from Jim Bell because if he need to get fuel, he need to go to Arcata or something.
Oh yes, it's Jet A fuel versus 100 low lead.
Right. So can we have like a self-service gas station type of thing?
Well, you could, but I wouldn't be in favor of it for environmental reasons.
So we were talking about revenue. So from a revenue perspective, would that appeal to other pilots from Utah or South Dakota or something, like one-way flight here, fuel, stay in a hotel, go back?
You're not going to get many pilots here. Seriously, I mean, we got this one aircraft that comes in and uses it, but that's a pretty small market for Jet A. Jack?
If I can just say one thing, in my short venue in Chris's seat, I did speak to the airport manager of Humboldt County, and that was one thing that I spoke to him with. He strongly advised against it. It was a complete losing proposition. He said the investment in infrastructure and everything would far outweigh any kind of income we get out of it. He said even at Murray Field, at a busier field, it's a losing venture out there. So yeah, it was something that we kind of we looked into, but yeah, it looked like it was definitely not worth the benefit. Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else, Cindy?
No, that's it.
Okay, awesome. Wendy?
What Jerry said.
I love that answer. All right, Tristan?
I mean, I would actually like to see hangars put in like the north end of the airport, just because I think it could be a way of raising revenue for the RID. Also, I mean, if we're going towards like venues and cool stuff like this and just like different ideas, like hangars are really neat places to like host events and have things. And also it's a revenue. And then I think maybe it'd help us qualify for some grants I heard somewhere. Anyways, and my only other thing is like, as much as it would be nice to like fly in here with the fog, I guess my only like wonder is like, since it is like used for so many other things, like people walking around, I'd just be concerned that it would probably need to be fenced in. I wonder to be able to do like the instrument approach, because like that would be my only concern. It's like deer or humans under the fog,
I think
not knowing that a plane was coming.
Yeah, but again, you're going to have maybe 400, 500-foot ceiling
Yeah.
for the approach, which is quite a lot. I mean, I'm sure. It's not like ground fog or anything.
Yeah,
Some
yeah.
foam, you get surprised and there's an airplane.
Yeah. I guess, yeah. I don't know. That was just my one thing that would kind of concern me. But yeah, that would be my, and I do agree with the overnight fees though, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think, again, having a walking place where people can walk is really important, because right now people are using the taxiway, and it is a liability for the district. So I would like to see a place where people are more pushed to walking instead of staying in the airport area. And I agree with Jerry about the landing or the fees. I would actually like to see more landing fees, because we get more people touching down just for like a couple hours or so. And if it was just an honor system, I don't think it would hurt to have that available for people to contribute, because they're using the airport, and a lot of it is for businesses. The info kiosk, I would like to see some kind of, eventually some kind of pilots, and this would go back to the community center, seeing how we can have a pilot's lounge, and bathrooms, instead of having these bathrooms, the porta potties that get blown over in the wind. That's not very welcoming to tourists, or from an environmental standpoint. I guess I would have, I think the hangars may open us up for some more funding. I'm not sure if that also includes the fencing. I think that also is something that kind of keeps us from being able to access federal funds. Is the fencing seems to be what they are really looking at as well. As far as the venue part of it, I'm really, from what I'm understanding, what the county is saying we can and cannot do next to the airport. I don't know if that would be a revenue source that way. But definitely,
I guess I didn't mean like the venue being a revenue, but the hangar being a revenue source for RID. Yeah.
And yeah, I'm not a flyer, so I'm definitely interested in hearing what the rest of the public says. And I'm definitely against providing fuel down there. I think it would be for the resources it takes to put it, and then on an environmental standpoint, it just takes one disaster, and it would really hurt the district.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm kind of with Wendy. I agree with everything Jerry said. The only thing I do know about is being an interior designer is with the fencing. If we do chain link fence, one way to trick the eye to make it look like it's not there is painting it black, and then it looks like it's invisible. So that is something that we could do, so everyone gets a fence, but it's not an eyesore. So that's all I have to say. And so then that leads us to public comment. So anything,
Dina?
Oh, Dina, sorry, I didn't see your hand. Go ahead.
It's all good. So when I came home from Reading, I found this in front of just the walking trail, and then also over on Upper Pacific. So I don't care as long as they don't walk at nighttime in my backyard, but people are walking in my backyard because they can't get through. So that's, it is what it is. I mean, I understand, because I have called out 3 or 4 people to ask what the world was going on and how these people who are wheelchair access be able to get to the hiking trail from Scarf. Good question. I'll leave that to you guys. The other thing is, you guys are talking about lights on the airport, and I will complain, okay? I like to stargaze. I don't like lights. As it is, I deal with 2 to 3 lights from the sewer department shining in my bedroom, okay? And I'm dealing with it because it was a safety issue. According to years ago, FAA did not want the planes coming down here at nighttime. Okay, so maybe that's changed. Don't know. And if you guys put lights up, maybe that will change it. I don't know. And then you guys need to really truly think about the wildlife with the fences and the lights. I mean, we are in such a phenomenal area of wildlife. I mean, the deer come in my backyard. I have 8 of them the other day, and I'm like, they're like, hi, you know. But we won't have the birds. We won't have the pelicans. That's one of our, and stars. That's one of our big, huge natural assets that people come. And maybe you guys don't like it. I do. I love it. Okay. I could never imagine it. And we all know I have a boyfriend, Mr. Herring, comes and visits me.
Yeah, 30
Just since that.
seconds.
So there's my 3 minutes.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So I'm not as cool as Jerry or Trent. I didn't fly the actual plane or helicopter or anything like that, but I have a lot of experience in aviation. I flew around for 8 years in Cal Fire to all the little various small-time airports around the county and the state. A fence, as a fire chief, every safety option we can take, I recommend it. The type of FAA fence we're talking about is just not going to work down there, right? It puts it out in the middle of the golf course. The fences and the 2 gates that went up, I actually recommended those just as a deterrent from people driving straight up the road on the runway that aren't supposed to be there. We have people drag racing at night, people doing donuts. Yeah, they can just go around, right? But at least it's the normal person doesn't look like that's an access turnaround, right? There was not really any good signage. Those aren't to keep people in wheelchairs or anything like that. They can go around, and the actual trail is not wheelchair accessible anyway, from that side or the other side before the gates were up. The other thing that I want to talk about is our fire department is becoming more and more active in the use of life flight helicopters. You guys see the helicopters, they come in and out. We are actively working with the Coast Guard to get a Jet A fuel cube that's locked that they can access. So, CHP has them all over the state. Basically, they're emergency fuel cubes. They're in a self-contained fuel tank that's leak-proof, it's DOT inspected, all that kind of stuff, and they can come access it. But it's not going to be public access. It's Jet A for them. They have certain additives that they put in their fuel as well. And we were also talking about the lit helipad. And that's something that's going to be $1 million project down the line, but that's something in our strategic plan that we're looking at because that's your guys' way to get to the hospital. And as a pilot, as helicopter pilots, if they have a lit known pad, they're more likely to come out in various degrees of weather than our basically unimproved strip is what some of those pilots see it as. If they've never been in here before, right? So there may be talk, and you guys may hear talk of us talk about emergency lighting from the fire department. That's for a lit, smaller helipad that's coming in. So Cal Fire has new helicopters, and they're going to be instrument rated as well with the Blackhawks. So there's going to be a chance we may be able to get Cal Fire like we do the Coast Guard and reach with that. So that's one that if you guys want to go to a real hospital right now, the helicopter is pretty much your only option. And so keep that in mind when we talk about this airport. It's not just general aviation. We're using it for emergency aviation as well. And we have to change the culture. One of the things we have to actually assign a firefighter to keep people from walking around the helicopters when we're doing live medevac. People are walking with their dogs, they're walking around, and they start getting too close to the tail rotor of the helicopter. And I would say about half of our medevacs, we have that. Where we call them a runner, and we have to go make sure those runners don't get too close. So I don't think fences are needed, but I do think it's a cultural change. That if people, the walking group, Cheryl just left, but they've been walking on that airport for 30 years. I'm not worried about them walking on the airport. But when somebody at the tourist sees them walking on the airport, now suddenly we have kids riding bikes on the runway, the fire department doesn't force that and tell them. We try to educate people because the out-of-towners see the locals and they don't understand the rules. Right? So that's something to keep in mind too, as a community.
Can I ask a question?
tell us where you're envisioning the lit helipad to be on the airstrip?
Anywhere that they let us. But I would love to see it right there where that little burn pile area is. It's really good access for our ambulance. So it's going to be a much bigger plan. Like I said, hopefully 5, but probably close to 10 years for that. We do try and use the landing zone that we currently have, but if there's a bunch of planes there, sometimes we do have to use a taxi. And now the policies are CAL FIRE and Reach is getting sent. So, these guys had 3 helicopters out on the runway in the medevac they did the other day. So it fills up quick when you start adding extra aircraft. And then the AWAS as well. At Nealon, Coast Guard installed that for free, and we were able to utilize it. So that might be a talk we can have to see if Coast Guard be interested in putting one out here as well. Weather always is something big on there.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've been flying shelter for 17 years, so I've got a lot of experience, Shelter Cove, Harborville, around. I agree with Mike had great fencing. It's gonna ruin the whole vibe of Shelter Cove. The FAA has a bunch of requirements on fence. It's not just simple fence. It's this fence with the barbed wire, it's got setbacks. They'll put it like right down the middle of the golf course all the way around. It would be a horrible thing. And for a little bit of money, we could figure out something else. But hangars could be put on the north end. The bank is actually almost higher than a hangar would be if you cut them in. So there's a whole 2-acre strip in our right alongside the taxiway. You could cut the hangars into the land. The roofs would be like level with the ground or lower. So if your houses, you see like a brown roof, maybe at ground level, would be like hangars on this end would be horrible. Big, ugly buildings. If you built them into the hill, there's a lot of ways to structure a hangar ownership. Others counties do a much better job in Humboldt, but that's another long discussion we can have. We're going to the hangar conversation, how to structure ownership and renting and revenue. There's a much better way to do it the way Humboldt County does it, but it's a good revenue source. It's a huge revenue source for airports and counties. But that's great. The VASIs you're talking about, like a VASI, the light, that's a different type of lighting than nighttime light. VASI is an approach lighting used in the daytime or night. But those things cost like $500,000 or more.
I'm not talking VASI.
Happy?
I'm not talking about
Approach lights?
just runway end lamp lights that you click on.
The FAA, though, like anytime you do lighting, well, like somehow it costs hundreds of thousands every time they pay this. They're crazy on their pricing. So that would be like up in the air as far as cost. It's really expensive unless you get funding through CAL FIRE for emergency landing lights or something like that.
We want a VASI just again for the aesthetics because you got to outstep it from the runway.
And they're super expensive. What was the other thing you're bringing up?
I wanted the RNAV GPS approach.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. I don't know I'm ignorant to what it would entail.
I penciled it out. I looked at 4 airports around us here: Little River, Murray Field, Crescent City, and the fourth one. But I was looking at where their decision point is for the pilot to try and get a feel for how far you got to be away from the airport and have clear area. And then I looked at our runways and how far we are from land. And we're better than
What's
most
the
of these
minimum?
others.
So 500 foot, 300 foot?
About 400.
400 foot's pretty. It's not as scary as you sound. It's pretty high actually.
It is.
If it's lower than 400 foot, that's like not even. If you get down to 0, even it's not
I landed at Santa Rosa last weekend to get Nina, and it was 400 foot.
400 foot's high. You have plenty of time to see people. You're not going to hit anybody walking. It's pretty high up, and I've done similar to but the landing fee thing, I'm not really that in favor from a business standpoint because it's not. There's a landing fee and an overnight fee. Most services have overnight, not just landing unless you're over. Overnight fees, but the revenue amounts little for how many planes. It's honor system who's going to do it, and then it's almost a deterrent. Like, oh, I'm going to go stay the night. Overnight fee, they have to pay. And for businesses, we're trying to attract as many people as we can here for businesses and tourism. And a lot of times the landing fees are associated with services. We don't have any for the airport, really not even a bathroom. So if we had a bathroom, I'd be like, okay, that might serve as the cleaning of the bathroom. So we have, and fuel's financially not feasible in any way, shape, or form. The cost to put one in is $500,000 to $1 million to install fuel stations. You make a tiny bit of money on fuel.
Check your time.
Can I ask a quick question? Do you feel that undercurrent of the non-flying public here that doesn't like the airport that,
Not really, and
yeah.
there's always a plan or two, but I think that it creates culture and helps Shelter Cove. So many people love just watching planes. I see kids always lining up and then children watching planes take off over there.
That's kind of one of my,
People, but I would say most people like the airport. The open space. If you get rid of the airport, the open space goes away. Then what is it? Houses?
Right.
Yeah. It's kind of a nice open space, but always say kind of open.
Yeah.
Planes landing sometimes.
Time, sir.
Time's up.
Yes.
Oh yes, does not restart the clock. I'm
Thank
sorry.
you. Does anybody else have any public comment on the airport?
And they wanted to shut down the airport. They wanted to build, somebody wanted to build houses. I felt it was a liability. And I gotta tell you, I stood up and I said, we need that airport for emergency. You know, it's not just for pleasure, it's emergency. Because I see them come in and I see them haul out. And it's enormous. And so, I mean, I just don't want it to go clear out.
It's not going away.
Yeah, don't worry.
We're not, yeah, there's no intention of getting rid of it. So if we could, because we are it's starting to get later, so we would like to now move, if we're good on the airport.
We'll go to unfinished business on the airport.
Good on the airport?
Yep, so if anybody has anything to address to the Parks and Rec Committee that was not addressed already in the strategic plan, now is the time to do it.
And then if I can hold my hand up.
Oh yeah, Tesha, go ahead.
And just a quick reminder, this is really your ideas, like what do you feel like you would come to fundraisers for? What do you feel comfortable asking taxpayers to pay for? So just kind of keep that in mind with your suggestions and know that we're going to write them down and then, they'll be considered and see where we could fit it in if possible. All right, thank you. Oh, and it's 3 minutes per public comment.
Yes, Wendy.
I'm curious how many responses we got from our community to this survey that we sent out.
So we're still collecting data. Chris, could you just quickly, just maybe not what the responses are right this second, but how many how much community input we've gotten?
Ooh. I think it was around 30 or 40 responses online.
Mm-hmm. And then we're still receiving online responses, and then as well as the survey is on the back table. If you haven't taken it, you can pick one up on your way out and drop it off at the office, fill it out, or the QR code.
The display that's over there with the stickers, I will put that up in the office as well, and anybody who comes in with me bill, we will offer them the opportunity to go ahead and prioritize things on there.
Still getting that information.
Cool, thank you.
Okay, now public comment.
Since we have.
We're going home, but.
3 minutes.
This is only me. Since on everyone's mind so much about this clubhouse, it'd be nice to see. I think Trinity Engineering is the original firm that did those plans. Is there any formal way we can bring that to the next meeting and say, hey, let's make this discussion to revive that project? I think a lot of people like to see that brought back to life. At least consider, bring it out, show it. A lot of people don't even see it, know about it. A lot of people like to see it, see what it was, reconsider what it was. But it makes sense.
Any other public comment? Riley, do you want to touch base on the pump track?
We started there. She really hit there unless anybody has any questions.
I did have one question. Were you talking about it being paved or dirt?
Paved, so that bikes, scooters, skateboards, roller skates, it can go for all types of recreation.
Awesome.
I know you mentioned Crescent City, but I don't know if you know, but Fortuna Newburgh Park also has a bicycle.
They are all up and coming. I mean, it's a new thing that is happening, so they're something that's really popular all over the state of California. There's a lot of funding
that is going on for them. They're popping up all over the place. So, yeah, they're really awesome. They're really, really great. They're for all like stages and ages. They're good for beginners to advanced. They have just all different ranges. So some are for our kids to like get out and ride because there's absolutely nowhere for them to go to ride any type of bike, skateboard, scooters. It's actually like safe. You know, I mean, we could ride in the road, but these roads definitely are not available for skateboards. We already have a surf culture here, and skateboarding and surfing go hand in hand. Also, skateboarding is an Olympic sport permanently as of 2028, where, yeah, so something that could help kids get into and just have something here. I know for me personally, I started really getting serious about skateboarding when Penley was born because I was like, I want to teach kids skateboarding, so I need to get good at it. That's something that I would totally offer as like a fundraiser every year to try and help bring people from out of town into the area of like a camp for the kids, a camp for all ages. Even doing like races there would be really great. What's so cool about them is you could start small. You can always add on to them. We could add on the skate park to it. We could start with this area and it can grow and grow and grow. They're great. So if anyone has any questions, I'm definitely down to answer any questions and
contact.
Just we're working with Scarf now.
Awesome.
So they're definitely
Awesome.
interested and willing to help us figure that out. And I think it's totally doable. Totally, totally doable, especially finding out that we spend $150,000 a year on a golf course. So, I think that's what you said in the budget. Oh, 50,000. 150,000. Okay, I missed the 100. 150,000. So, and pump tracks, the maintenance on them is super minimal. So definitely won't cost us 150,000 a year. I think it'll bring a lot of people. Like I said, traveled for 4 months up and down the coast, hitting pump tracks and skate parks. I would have rather stayed here and spent that money here, but we don't have that option. So it's something that's really important.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's tons of grants out for it. So I think maybe if there's people that are interested in doing that, finding the grants. I don't have any expertise in that, but I definitely can give knowledge and sit down and talk out. I'm gonna do that on my own. What's the grant?
I love looking for grants.
Any other public comment?
And I wanted to say that.
Yeah, I got you, Wendy. So we do have our Parks and Rec Strategic Planning Committee every fourth Wednesday of the month, or Thursday, sorry, thank you, Thursday of the month. And it would really be nice to have people show up and engage with the committee. We'll probably at the May meeting, we'll probably be taking in the information that we've received and has a committee getting our priorities, our ducks in a row, so to speak, and coming up with a 5-year, 10-year plan, strategic planning for the Parks and Rec that we can then present to the RID board for approval or consideration. I'm thinking probably the June or July meeting. So I really appreciate everybody coming out tonight and participating, engaging. Please, out in the community, just keep letting people know that we do want to do more in Parks and Rec. It takes the whole community because we don't have the district. It has we're already on a very skeleton crew, and so yeah, the more we put onto the district, the more infrastructure we have to maintain and for the future, so just trying to make sure that we get the help with that. Yeah.
Do we know the date for the next meeting? What is that?
May 22nd, I believe.
22nd.
Yes.
And it's at 10 a.m.
10 a.m.
I mean, yeah, I'm wondering if these later ones are better for the community or not.
Every quarter. So we'll have,
Okay.
so it's every 3
Maybe we
months.
should have like one more of these before we actually have the presentation for the RID board meeting, just because, I mean, I don't know what everyone's schedule is, but I know 10 a.m. is going to even be rough for me. That's why I've missed the last few.
And so all of you that can't make the 10 a.m., just know that we will have one coming up in a few months again at the same time, and we'll keep you all informed. We're going to have this the same town hall every quarter.
Okay.
So every few months, we'll have it for those that can't make it to the 10 a.m. So then you all can, share your voice and make sure that you're heard. So, yeah. All right. Is there any other?
I would just like. I would like to just add that if you can't attend the meeting, you can always send in comments. Send them into the committee. You can send them into the general manager, and those can be passed along to committee members or board members.
And these meetings are also on the RID website and YouTube.
Yep. They're archived. We're archived
Yes.
now.
Yes. So, all right. If there's nothing else, this meeting is adjourned at 8:18. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.